I want to get my bait out a couple of 100 yards into the deep channel. I can't cast that far, so the only option is to paddle out and drop it in. But floating in a plastic canoe above killing machines potentially 12 feet long is a little unnerving. Back on shore, it's a waiting game. But I think we've picked the right spot. One of the things that Dawn said to look out for is happening. Schools of bait fish are jumping out of the water, and something appears to be chasing them.
That is a fish on. I'm leaning into this.
Although my reel is nearly on full drag, the fish is still able to swim off with ease. But the heaviest line I've ever used is still just about holding out. This has to be a monster. After a 20-minute fight, I bring it close to shore. When it breaks the surface, I see something I didn't expect.
Look at that! I might just come over it. Whoops.
It's clear I've hooked a giant. But this is no shark.
Fish's beach now. Just gonna go in there and grab it.
It's a Goliath Grouper.
That is just a massive grouper.
After a 20-minute struggle, it should be worn out, but it appears this beast has only just started. As it thrashes, not only do I have to be wary of the giant hook in its mouth, but also the spikes along its back.
There's that. Hook's out. That is a beast. The length is
83 inches. 69, 83. About 69 inches.
That's just shy of 7 feet long and over 5.5 feet around. At this kind of size, it's going to weigh over 350 pounds. But they can grow even bigger, to over 600 pounds and 8 feet long.
I could feel it as a heavy fish, and it was also taking line against a very heavy drag. But what I was expecting to see when it came in close was a big dorsal of a bull shark. And then these spikes break the surface. Although these are very tough, resilient creatures, it's probably time to put this back.
I want to get it into deeper water to release it, but even with Mike watching my back, this monster isn't going anywhere easily.
I think I'm knee deep in water. This fish, its belly is still scraping the bottom. Feeling anything like as tired as I do, or sink into a corner somewhere and just recover for a little while. But priority for me is to get another bait out. There's big bull shark out there.
I decide to try a trick I learnt on a previous adventure.
Got deep water here very close to the side. It's a very steep bank there that just continues. And about 25-30 yards out, there's actually, it's the old riverbed. And remembering back to Wales catfish in Spain, to get a bait in the old riverbed, that was always productive. So hoping that the same thing here.
This plan seems to be working. I get immediate interest in my bait.
Yeah, that's a good fish, that's a good fish. Shallow water, it's dashing, it can't go down, so it's going side to side. That was within minutes, seconds even almost, to putting the bait out. Keep it away from that other line there, getting some side strain on it.
Unlike yesterday, It seems that the big fish are now on the move.
This feels exciting. This is good size. I can see. Oh, see the flank. Oh yeah. Lovely. That's a good size. Slacken off the drag a little bit. Where's the net? Oh, lovely in the net.
This one weighs in at 58 pounds.
Oh yes. Oh gosh. People think catfish are ugly, slimy scavengers, but I mean this fish is just a muscular predator. And there's a big mouth on here, very capacious mouth. And there's no teeth as such, but I can feel, well, it's like lots and lots of very close set points there for gripping. If they do grip something, they don't let go. But yeah, lovely fish.
These rows of tiny teeth would be ideal for gripping onto a human corpse underwater. And like alligators, catfish can spin, which would allow them to rip flesh or even limbs off the body.
If we went over the back, yeah, close to 4 feet. 8 inches across the head, a good 6 inches.
Scaling that up to the size of catfish that Tim saw, the mouth would be big enough to fit around somebody's head.
There are big fish in this lake. That would be frightening to actually bump into that in low visibility. You know, you literally don't see it until you're a couple of feet away.
We've nearly exhausted all the spots on this part of the river, but just before moving off, bubbles breaking the surface are the sign of something big coming up from the bottom.
Oh, more bubbles here. That is our big fish.
After weeks of searching, I finally caught my first Kaluga.
So this is it, the Kaluga Sturgeon of the Amur River. Now, this is big by normal freshwater fish standards, but by the standards of what this fish can potentially grow to, this is a small one.
But I've never been so happy and relieved to find a fish alive.
This fish would actually overpower you. This fish, you know, you would not be able to hold your own in the water against this. And a big one of these, 15 foot long, I can well believe now the stories of those smashing boats, sending them to the bottom so they're never found again.
I'm afraid that the last of the giants may be gone. But as fortunes can still be made from the fish that remain, this story can only end in tragedy for the Kaluga, and sometimes for the fishermen who still hunt them illegally.
Despite having heard those stories of deaths and disappearances, the real victim is actually this fish, which we've fished very hard for. Well, this is the biggest one that I've seen. This thing's been hunted really to the edge of extinction, all for the sake of its valuable eggs. That's really very sad, and I really hope that this population comes back.
But even in the face of this human onslaught, nature has a surprising ability to cling on. As this rare living dinosaur returns to the deep, I find something in the boat that gives me a glimmer of hope.
It's quite something when I think that I've heard so much about this fish, particularly in terms of the very large size that it can reach. Over 1,000 pounds, 15, 16 foot long. And to think that when I put this back over the course of many years, it could grow big enough to drag people out of boats. But here it is, a perfect miniature Kaluga.
Without doubt, it's my smallest ever river monster. But in terms of the significance and hope it carries, it could be the biggest of my entire career. But there's no time to recover, because straight away I've hooked another fish.
Oh, massive bubbles over there. I think that was it or another fish. Yes. Yes, 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 yes.
Could this be the one?
I'm going to come over there. I need to come there. I need to come there.
At this angle, the fish will snag my line. With no room to maneuver, I have to get into the lake.
This is a hell of a fish if this is hooked in the mouth.
I'm not sure if I'm playing the fish or it's playing me. After a full half hour, finally it begins to tire.
Gosh. Incredible fish.
This monster is a catfish, but the wrong one.
Mekong giant catfish. It's still fighting me. It's still fighting me, this fish. Mekong giant catfish. This fish is known to grow over 600 pounds. Nearly 650 pounds is the biggest one, authenticated. But this one actually rose and took a piece of maize dangling under a float. Took something about the size of my fingernail. Can you imagine? Turned into a fish like this. Incredible, strong fish.
After all this intense fishing, catching everything but the sereng, it's dawning on me that by coming to Thailand, all I've done is run away from my problem, which is with those gods back in India. If I'm ever going to catch this fish, I need to face my demons and make my peace with them. The first suitable place we find to noodle is a concrete pipe, ideal for a nesting catfish. The plan is for Dylan to take the lead, because the opening is too small for me to fit into. The opening under the water is silted up, leaving only a tiny gap for entering. The plan is for Dylan to stick both his legs into the hole. When the catfish attacks, he'll pin it against the side. But to do this, he has to be totally submerged. Seeing Dylan about to offer his body as bait in part makes me understand why America is called the land of the brave.
Oh!
You got in there?
Yeah.
There's definitely a big catfish in there.
Got him? He's in between my legs.
Dylan has a catfish pinned against the opening, but he's now wedged in. Luckily, he can get his head just above the water to breathe.
Go under his legs.
What I'm going to do, I'm going to get my head under him and try and get that gill.
Okay.
Right, ready?
I have to get down there and grab what Dylan thinks is a big catfish.
Right, got the gill as well, got the gill as well.
I grab it and pull it to the surface.
Wait.
It's been a real team effort, and Nate puts it on a stringer so I can then let go. It's my first flathead catfish.
Who would suspect a river like this, so shallow, you think there's nothing in here. Maybe there's stuff a foot long, but there's some real monsters in here and they're hiding very, very close. But boy, it's work to get them out. It's short, but it's very intense. But you've got this protruding lower jaw and you've got these needle-like teeth forming very big pads, and that's basically what I'm trying to get hold of there. But you've also got crushing pads at the back of the throat. Your hand can even go beyond those. It's a bit like a sphincter. Your hand can go right past into the gut. The other thing you've got to watch out for on these is you're trying to reach in and just get on the gill flap, but the gills are protected by those very sharp gill rakers, and if you get one of those getting near your fingers and the fish starts to thrash and try to spin, you know, those are going to sort of create a bit of an injury as well. So it's quite a formidable mouth that can do a bit of damage.
This one weighs around 40 pounds, a big fish by anybody's standards. But Nate thinks it's too small to enter into the contest, so we let it go. We need to catch bigger ones than that if we're going to have any chance of winning the contest. We move further downriver to try and find a bigger catfish. After feeling around, I've worked out that there's a flat shelf that then drops down to the riverbed. In this vertical face is an opening that goes back into the bank. In here is where a catfish could be hiding. At the moment, I can't tell how far the hole goes back. I'll only find that out by sticking my arm in there.
You're just gonna fill him up. If you get in there far enough, I mean, he's gonna be right here, and you're just gonna be able to maneuver him however you want. If you get in there far enough, it'll be no problem. Know that you got people here to help you if anything goes wrong.
And basically, as soon as you hear anything going, you're starting to pull me out anyway, aren't you? So, yeah.
I put my whole arm into the hole and feel around for what seems like an eternity, but there doesn't appear to be anyone home. My lungs are starting to burn.
I get the feeling I'm maybe not in there far enough, is that the idea?
Yeah, you gotta keep going there as far as you can.
Yeah,
I haven't reached far enough into the hole. As we feel around the opening, something rams our legs.
Oh, he's in there, keep it blocked. Yeah, he just swallowed my whole foot. Yep.
Yeah.
We have to make sure that the hole is totally blocked so it can't escape. I submerge again. This time I go head first into the hole, which just keeps on going and going. Visibility is 0, and as I feel around, something bites my hand. Hard.
Wait.
I manage to get a good hold of it and bring it to the surface. I finally noodled a massive catfish.
Well, that fish was lying there, boom, bit me once and let go. And then I sort of fumbled around and then actually reached into its mouth. It's a creepy feeling. I'm putting my body in there. Dylan's feeding me in, pushing me in, head first into a hole under the water. There's something that's going to bite me in there. It's dark, I can't see anything. What a stupid thing to be doing. You know, just ridiculous. But I mean, as fishing goes, it doesn't get much more mad than that.
As Nate promised, the catfish is still full of fight. It tries to do a characteristic roll. If we can't control it, it has the strength to break my wrist.
Oh! That's doubling my... Oh!
Luckily, it decides to let me go.
Big flathead catfish. I mean, well named. That head is flat, that lower jaw poking up as well. But just what a beast. It looks a bit sort of torn up. It's got some battle scars. That adipose fin here should just be a normal clean lobe, and that's been split. It's got a bit of a lump on it. Tail's a bit torn. One possibility is these things move into beaver holes, and if there's a beaver already in residence, you know, the beaver probably takes exception. And so, you know, these things have a bit of a tough time. They've got to compete for real estate down there.
This fish must weigh at least 50 pounds, making it a strong contender for the contest. Considering the fish that attacked Bobby Sparks was twice the weight of this one, any doubts I had begin to dissolve. Once again, I'm operating in unfamiliar territory. And I'm not alone.
I'm in a nice fishing spot here. The only problem is this hippo, most of them, they they disappear when the boat's around. This one seems to be quite curious. I've also heard a couple of elephant bellowing close by, so it's quite disconcerting to think that there are other things a lot bigger than me with prior claim to this place.
Yeah. That is a fish on.
Is this, at last, the Vundu?
Might just look at how the teeth are, how the hook is. Oh, good net, good, excellent. Fantastic. Oh.
It seems a fearsome lineup of predators stalks this part of the river too. Tigerfish as well as Vundu.
Ooh. These things. 1 minute the lion is just hanging limp and the next minute it's screaming out. Lovely fish. It's not the one it's not the fish I'm after though. What I want to do is hold it in the water and let it recover. But I've got to remember there's crocs in here. Got to think of my own safety as well. But I think it's about ready to go. I was thinking then, somewhat selfishly, that if a croc comes along, it's more likely to go for the fish than my arm, hopefully. But anyway, it's gone. I'm not sitting here for 5 or 10 minutes waiting for that fish to recover. It's a fish, it's good to see a fish, but the one I'm after is just more elusive even than that. Yeah, it's a fish, it's a fish. Is it? No, it's off, it's off. I've just seen a fish come up from my fly. It was in the tail of the white water there. And I think I probably pulled it out of its mouth. I should have just given it a little bit longer. It's very hard in the heat of the moment. You just get this reflex. You see the fish, I want to set the hook. But they're here, and they're coming up.
After feeling the power of the Taimen, I believe that a big one could pull me off balance and into the water. I need to keep my footing. Suddenly, there's something big on my line.
Yes, 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 yes. That's a fish, that's a fish. I've got to come down there, I've got to come down.
I mustn't let the line snag on the boulders, or it's game over.
Right, I can see it. I can see that red tail. Right, now just take it easy now. Big red tail. This is a good sized fish. You can see the fish really well going out into the current there.
The bigger they are, the harder they fight. And this one's fighting with all its strength to get away from me. The adrenaline is pumping and my brain is telling me to keep a constant tension on the line or this fish will throw my hook.
Okay, it's spinning, it's spinning, it's spinning.
It's a two-man job bringing this Taimen in and our first attempt fails.
This is now difficult because the line is around the body of the fish.
I've lost control of the fish. I can't bring it out of the strong current. Janga has to go out into the middle of the river to grab the Taimen, hopefully without getting bitten. After an intense, nerve-wracking battle, a very long journey that began back in my childhood comes to an end.
Taimen on a fly. Wow. What a fish, amazing fish.
This is a rare beast. I'm lucky to see one this big.
Right. Oh, the size of the head on this thing. Wow. And look at the mouth on that. Just looking at this thing now, you can just tell how well adapted it is for this predatory lifestyle in this fast water. Very, very streamlined body, but this huge mouth and the teeth in there are just angled, you know, they almost come back flat, which is why they're not immediately visible. And it's even got teeth on the tongue.
If it sank those teeth into me, it could do some damage. I can feel this one still has a lot of fight left in it. It's time to return it to its element.
What's really nice is this fish is just flexing. This fish is ready to go. I'm gently supporting it by the pectoral fins, just taking the weight, but Jack's still holding the tail. I think as soon as we let go of the tail, it's going to support itself. It might think for a second or two, and then I think it's going to be gone back into this fast water.
I was worried that I might never catch a Taimen, but I was lucky enough to catch 2 in the same spot. To me, this is also an indicator. The fact that the top predator is still here shows that this river is still alive.
For the time being at least, this is a healthy river, and just what an amazing sight to see.
Out here, the term bull shark could mean any shark swimming in a river. And given that glyphis and bull sharks look very similar, I need to take a closer look at exactly what's swimming in these waters.
Still there. Okay, that's coming in.
It's not a bull shark or a glyphis. This predator is a barramundi.
There we go, this is a barramundi. No, it's quite strange for me because it's actually just like a Nile perch. They don't go quite as big as Nile perch, but very uncanny, their resemblance, same family. It's picked up a big dead mullet off the bottom in the middle of the night.
Barramundi have sandpaper teeth, which makes them unlikely to injure people.
Yeah, that was not the one that I'm actually after.
It's suicide to get in the water, and it can be lethal even to sail on it. I'm putting my faith in a strong hook, a heavy wire trace, and fresh fish bait. If there is a glyphis down there, I'm ready for it.
There goes the thing. Bloody hell. That's the way it's hanging. Mystery fish, just saw a flash of grey. That sort of explosion and rapid change of direction. That's interesting. How close to the surface? Yeah, it's a whipray long.
It's not a glyphis, but a close relative of sharks.
Well, it's a whipray. Bite-wise, nothing really going on there. They do have teeth, but they're not cutting teeth. They're just flat and blunt.
With rays, it's not the teeth you have to worry about. I caught a giant freshwater stingray in Thailand. The barb on its tail 10 inches long, covered in thick toxic mucus, and capable of inflicting horrific wounds. This ray is smaller, but just as deadly.
Very wicked spine on the tail there, covered in this toxic venom. Well, we don't want that thing in the boat. Finally, it's my turn to confront whatever lurks in the churning depths below the Kariba Dam. The clock is ticking and there's no access to boats. I'm casting into a pool 500 feet wide and said to be 300 feet deep. That's the fish on. I just want to let the other line. I'm just going to wait till it comes this way.
Its instinct is to pull down towards the bottom of this 300-foot pool.
I want to get the other line. I'm going to run along the bank there. That's a Vundu. What a fish and what a place to catch it in. Could be crocs here. So what I'm going to do, I think I'm just going to pull it. Just looking for a good place to land, maybe up here. A big one of these would be capable of taking a baby.
And with a mouth this wide, it could suck in almost anything that passes.
It would be capable of pulling an unwary fisherman if that fisherman had the line wrapped around his toe or ankle.
Now that I've felt its power on the line, I have no doubt the Vundu could have pulled Jaconia's brother into the river and drowned him. But could the river monster also be a river god?
That is the representation of Nyami Nyami. Now, I wonder if this is the creature that the water god, the water spirit, is based on.
Both possess powerful serpentine bodies. And perhaps the fangs on the traditional carvings are inspired by the extraordinary barbels that Vundu use to hunt down prey. My journey along the relentless Zambezi has made me realize that any creature that can survive this unforgiving river for millennia has to be a force to be reckoned with.
Whether or not this is the beast behind Nyami Nyami, I mean, it certainly embodies the power of this river.
It's a freshwater freak show, where rare giants from across the globe have been released to swim with native species, including the sarang. There must be more river monsters here than in any other lake in the world. It's a long way from my normal fishing. But after my struggles in India, this could be the change I need.
I know they're in here, and here in Thailand, the fish doesn't have the supernatural power that it's supposed to have in India. So I'm back to what I'm used to, just me against the fish.
But even here, I'm not taking any chances. I'm fishing like I've never fished before, with 4 heavy rods, bomb-proof line, professional fishing guide Scott, and electronic bite alarms. It's like an angling midlife crisis,
The bait had hardly hit the bottom.
but it's working.
What's that? It could be an Asian redtail.
I must be doing something right. I'd almost forgotten what it felt like to catch a fish.
It is a redtail catfish. Not what I came here to get, but an interesting fish to see. This is a native of these waters, native of Southeast Asia.
A large native catfish swimming in the same waters as the sarang. It's tantalizingly close to what I've come to catch.
Oh! That looked like a catfish of some description. That's an Amazon redtail, I think.
The fish are getting bigger, and this one is proof that I'm fishing a unique aquatic sanctuary.
The Amazon redtail catfish are actually quite different. The Asian redtail has a smoother skin and a slightly different shaped, more deeply forked tail. I'm used to seeing this in the Amazon halfway around the world, and here it is thriving in Thailand. This lake, it really is a place of surprises. That's ready to go.
After all the frustrations in India, part of me feels like I've died and gone to angling heaven. But another part of me wonders whether hooking a sarang like this is cheating. Has my goal of catching this fish turned to an unhealthy obsession? But the promise of the sereng and all the other remarkable fish in this lake
It's a nice sized fish, whatever it is.
is too much to resist.
There it is. It's a redtail catfish. Amazon redtail catfish. There's a bit of a frenzy of redtail catfish going on. Another Amazon redtail catfish. The challenge in this lake, which is a challenge I don't normally have, is actually how to avoid catching fish. I need to avoid catching all the other fish that are in here, which really outnumber the sereng. Oh, and there it was, right in underneath me, whatever it was. Oh, it's a redtail catfish.
By daybreak, it's becoming a plague.
This is an Amazon redtail catfish. Normally very rare in this part of the world, but
As the day draws on, the fish get more interesting.
What is that? Lovely. Those are very, very rare fish.
Scott tells me there are more than 100 sereng in the lake, but only about half a dozen of these.
This is a Chinese seerfish.
This fish is so unusual, I know next to nothing about it.
Don't know, I'm gonna have to look this one up, find out exactly what it's related to. It's very much a lottery, it seems, just a numbers game. And I'm hoping it's just gonna be a matter of time.
It's going, yeah, take that.
Going.
Some of my trips go for weeks without a catch.
Oh, it just rolled.
But here, I'm like a kid in a candy store.
Right, let me be careful this doesn't slice the net, haven't we? It's an alligator gar, native of North America. They used to live in prehistoric times all around the world. So if it was here naturally, it would be a very strange relic.
Day after day, the same pattern continues. I land well over 100 fish, belonging to 13 different species, some of them truly bizarre.
A real oddity. Firewood catfish. You know, it's almost like this place is mocking me. Here's a rare fish, here's another rare fish. The one I want is just eluding me, and there are more of those in here than there are things like that.
so what better place to start than some of the sharkiest waters on Earth? 2 miles off the coast.
It was sent to bring the sharks in.
The high seas are normally off my radar, but there's a theory that this is the home of the adult Glyphis, which has never before been caught. With a large hook through a pound of dead fish, I'm ready to brush up on my shark fishing skills. Straight away, I'm into a shark.
It just turned up. It's coming up. There's a shark. I've just seen the fin. Yeah. Just saw a sort of blue-grey shape screaming off to the left there. And there was a shark jumped out of the water, and then just a frenzy. And I think this leader here just basically got caught in the crossfire. Something just swam into it with its mouth open, and that was that.
A thick wire trace protects against the shark's teeth. But it's so thick with sharks out here that another one has sliced my line above the wire. My first lesson, grab a heavier rig. And don't let this one get away.
I might need the other part of the strap. Right, the only thing now is that I'm actually attached physically to the rod.
If the rod goes down, I go down with it.
The fish just hanging deep, and it's a sort of a stalemate, I think. I'm bringing in a bit of line, and then a bit of line goes out. See the fish, see the fish, see the fish.
It's a shark. But as I get it to the surface,
Look at that, look at that, look at that!
it's got other ideas.
It's going down, just going straight down, down, straight down, straight down. That's a kick of the head. Oh, damn, it's not.
Steve has literally got my back to stop me going down with it.
It's shaping up possibly to be a bit of an epic. The shark is one of the few fish that actually does weigh something in the water. You could have a dead shark on the end and you'd still have trouble getting it in. Oh.
But at last, the beast is tamed.
So this is a Requiem whaler shark, very solid, strong, deep-bodied fish, big fins. And looking at the business end of this, you definitely wouldn't want to be investigated by this animal if you were in the water. But this is where you expect to find them. You don't normally find fish like this in rivers.
The tide has turned and the fishing is slowing down. Maybe I'm kidding myself to think I can catch the Glyphis when fewer than 10 have ever been recorded on rod and line. But something has picked up my bait.
Maybe. Yeah, that is, I think.
It's running. Is this at last what I've come to catch?
Yeah, that's something. Lively. Coming up.
It's a shark, but it's far from caught. Because it's foul hooked, with the hook just nicked in its fin.
You can probably tail it.
It could break free any second. We just have to grab it.
Bait's gonna go. Look at that. That's okay, it's okay. Okay, hold there, that's good.
Suddenly, silence. Because everyone on the boat realizes this is something special.
Is this a positive ID on this then?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, fantastic.
It's the first time this species has ever been filmed. I've landed bigger river monsters, but none more rare.
This is a Glyphis river shark, very rare species. We've got a real positive ID on this. The shape of the notch just in front of the tail and also the anal fin. First one caught on camera. Important to get it back now.
You can count the people who have landed one of these on the fingers of one hand.
1, 2, 2.
But we need to work fast. This shark is so rare, we're only permitted to handle it for 60 seconds. So is it a killer? It's a powerful predator with super senses and all the right weaponry. But we've only just learned this shark even exists. And as yet, we don't know enough about its behavior or how large it grows to make that call.
You always get that feeling of disbelief when you put the fish back, but I think with this particular one, more so than normal. And the trouble is, because it's a fish that there have been so few caught, we just had to get it back in the water quickly.
This journey has shaken my assumptions about where the marine world ends and my freshwater world begins. I've added the Glyphis to the very short list of fish that swim in both. But can I also add it to my list of dangerous river monsters? The jury is still out.
I mean, this fish here, people didn't know it's here 10 years ago. So it just underlines for me the fact that what's under the water, it is still
even in the 21st century, just full of mystery.
If this story is right, I'm not taking any chances. I'm using my monster rod, a wire trace, and line with a breaking strain of 200 pounds. This place would certainly appeal to a monster, an easy, vast and ready supply of fish scraps to feast upon. But with all this free food, will it find my offering appealing? It's another surprise.
I'll try and swing this in. Basically, putting a lump of dead fish out by the waste chute at the fish factory. And I'll just see if I can just swing this in. That's a catfish. That looks incredibly like a Wells catfish, but Wells catfish don't exist out here. But that looks like a very close relative anyway. Wells catfish grow very big, 200 pounds or so. If these things grow to that kind of size, that could be the culprit, that could be the fish we're looking at.
I've caught giant Wells catfish from the River Ebro in Spain. Fish so big, they nearly pulled me into the river.
So this is a predator, and the reason it's hanging out here, I guess, is because of all the food, all the dead fish. And with the annual run of salmon every year, I don't know, it's possible that this species could grow to an interesting size.
It turns out that there are two species of catfish living in the Amur, and one is potentially a true river monster. Called the Soldatov catfish after a famous Russian fish biologist, it's said to grow to a similar size as those infamous Wells catfish from Europe that I've investigated before. But very little is actually known about it. Could a giant catfish, fattened on the fish waste from this plant, be the monster of the Amur?
But it's nice to catch a fish, and a predatory fish, out of this river.
I've little doubt that what lives here and smashes the fisherman's tackle is a giant overfed one of these. But is it responsible for the disappearance of 3 fishermen?
Good sized fish.
And this one feels different.
It's just going, going, going. I've just gained a bit of line. The first bit of line I've gained. Oh, gently, gently, gently. Oh. Oh, oh! Silvery fish jumping out of the water.
For a second that looked like a serang, but it sliced straight through my super tough leader.
So I was hoping that here I wouldn't get these sort of random things happening, but something's bitten that through.
After 10 solid days fishing, something has to give.
The big cloud of bubbles down there. Big cloud of bubbles.
I've hooked into my biggest fish yet.
Yes, that's the fish.
Could this be the one I'm waiting for?
Fish is going to show, it's going to show.
But a telltale flash of red and gold shows this isn't a serang.
That's Arapaima. Saw the whole thing come out of the water.
It's an old adversary, a magnificent fish. But because of my fixation with the serang, I feel a tinge of disappointment.
I know that fish are weightless in water, but even a fish like this, not even beating its tail, just the momentum of it,
just the mass of it coming through the water, displacing water. Line coming up through the water.
But as this Amazonian giant is finally tamed here in Thailand,
Gosh.
I'm again wondering if I'm looking for the wrong answers in the wrong places.
180 odd pound Arapaima. Whew. Big smile on my face, but still no sarang.
But catching any fish that it takes 3 grown men to lift is surely cause for celebration.
That's always really nice to see. The fish going off with plenty of energy, and just nice to see a fish in such good condition.
And I just felt something slam into me. I felt this burning in my hand and a burning in my leg.